Hello, I'm Doug McConnell, and we've got some great discoveries for you out here along the open road. Exploring one of the Bay Area's most popular trails through a watery world of nature and history shaped by a famous fault. So we're right on top of the San Andreas Fault and human hands, celebrating almost 50 years protecting Mount Diablo and lovely lands all around, and discovering a missing mile of the mountain's protection, which soon will be missing no longer. Revealing California's next great story of conservation in the big wilds nearby, and soaking up scenery in Sonoma County's regional parks. For most of us racing along busy Highway 280, the lush hillsides to the west are a scenic backdrop to our hurried commute. But to those who know them well, they're a world of wonder.
The watershed is layered with history.
Hidden in these hills are tales of bringing water to the people and building the Bay Area as we know it today.
Water in this area has always been a problem.
This old slice of modern California continues to provide water for us and wildness for our souls.
You can just come out here and escape your normal life and get a chance to meditate or take a deep breath and enjoy it.
This historic and luscious land, so close and so accessible, so mysterious and so beautiful, can be easily explored on a beloved and growing public trail system. A San Mateo County from the bay to the breakers with mountains and forests in between is absolutely gorgeous. And much of it's protected within 23 very different county parks. And no San Mateo County Park asset is more popular than the Crystal Springs Regional Trail, and for good reason. The Crystal Springs Regional Trail runs parallel to Highway 280 right down the middle of the peninsula, starting in San Bruno and extending south through history and natural habitats.
It's a beautiful thing to see, and it's a beautiful thing to get to show other people.
Catherine Wright is a ranger with San Mateo County Parks and our knowledgeable trail guide.
San Mateo County Parks, I think, provide a great place for people to recreate and get outside and reconnect with nature.
This is normally a very busy trail, but on this day it was temporarily closed to the public due to the COVID-19 crisis. Catherine gave us a special tour from its northern towards its southern end, and we followed public health protocols all the way. So the north end of the regional trail, we're going to hike south, 280 over there, but we're going to lose that, right? And go into a world of nature and history and beauty of all kinds.
Yes, exactly.
That's great. And keep a good, safe social distance. A majestic red-tailed hawk is a good omen as we head off, soon crossing San Andreas Dam, built right on top of the famous fault.
Pacific Plate is moving about a centimeter north each year, and the North American Plate is moving south a little bit as well.
Completed in 1888 and surviving both the 1906 and 1989 earthquakes, this is one of 3 large dams in a seismically active valley shaped by the ever-shifting San Andreas Fault. Water impounded in reservoirs here serves San Francisco, the peninsula, and the South Bay. So we're right on top of the San Andreas Fault, right here?
Right here. Yes.
On the dam?
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa. These reservoirs and the 23,000-acre watershed that surrounds them are all owned and managed by the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, the SFPUC.
We have tons of wildlife that are out there. We have bobcats, mountain lions, we have rattlesnakes and deer.
In 2012, even a pair of bald eagles nested right along the trail.
This is the first nest that had occurred in San Mateo County since 1915, which was pretty amazing. And it also shows that the environment is healing, that it's a suitable place for these species to come back and populate once again.
Wildlife is able to thrive here because the managers of this water system have long known the natural environment surrounding it had to be protected.
The only and best way to protect the water quality source was to protect the watershed and the source of water quality, and that's what they did.
Tim Ramirez is the Natural Resources Manager for the SFPUC. and is charged with managing the agency's land here.
It's really this large, now contiguous open space that hosts plants and animals that don't exist anyplace else in the Bay Area. It's an immense ecological resource. And we want people to be able to understand more about the property, to learn about its history, and to come here as best they can.
Job one for the SFPUC is to provide water to its 2.7 million customers throughout the Bay Area. But balancing that with natural resource protection and public access will be on its agenda far into the future.
This is a resource that belongs to the public, and we want to be able to protect it and steward it in a way that we're able to share it with people, at the same time make sure it's here to be shared with in the future.
The natural world will thrive in the future along the Crystal Springs Regional Trail, where we can also discover pieces of our past.
The entire watershed is a little piece of old California.
County historian Michael Svanovic has carefully studied the early development of this valley, formed by the fault.
This place came alive in the 1840s, California Gold Rush of 1848. The world rushed in. What is today Crystal Springs Road, below the dam, was a dirt trail, and that was the stagecoach trail out of San Mateo.
This rift valley of the San Andreas Fault was an idyllic settlement until the 1860s, when the Spring Valley Water Company began to buy and clear the land to build the San Andreas Reservoir.
There's some myth that there's some civilization at the bottom of these lakes. Every house disappeared. Every fence disappeared. Every tree was ripped out. And it was all for the water situation.
As more dams were constructed and much of the valley was flooded, some of its natural treasures still survive for us to see now. Are the many gems of geology, nature, and history along the Crystal Springs Regional Trail, including this tree right over here. This is the Jepson laurel. It is the oldest laurel tree in all of California, over 600 years old and about 60 feet tall. This bay laurel and the oak woodlands surrounding it shade us as we skirt the shores of the reservoirs on a trail that keeps getting longer bit by bit as short gaps are filled in.
It's a part of a continuation project that we're doing for the trail. We're trying to connect all the pieces.
Eventually, the trail will be 17 miles long, its southern terminus in Huddard Park, a little south of this shrine, the Pulgas Water Temple, built to celebrate the idea of bringing water to the people near the place where it all began long ago, in this now lovely landscape.
In the end, it's always about how we can make sure we're protecting this area for the future and for people to be able to be a part of that and to be able to experience it in some way, shape, or form. And we're trying constantly to find more ways to do that.
For more information about the Crystal Springs Regional Trail System, go to NBCBayArea.com/OpenRoad. When we come back, protecting a missing mile of a famous mountain's beautiful slopes, imagining the future of California's mysterious Big Wild, and enjoying parks for people in Sonoma County. OpenRoad is made possible by the generous support of our underwriters, dedicated to protecting our natural and historical treasures in the Bay Area and beyond. Additional support is provided by these institutions, also caring for our special environmental and cultural legacies and making them accessible to each and every one of us, now and for all time. Over the past 5 decades, a nonprofit conservation organization, Save Mount Diablo, has led efforts to permanently protect 120,000 acres of ecologically and historically significant land on and around soaring Mount Diablo.
You can look at any one of the pieces and look at its intrinsic values and say, this is so important. And then when you look at all of them cumulatively and the way we've put the puzzle pieces together into a map that goes from Suisun Bay all the way down past Highway 580, 120,000 acres of contiguous open space, it's just incredible.
Many pieces of Save Mount Diablo's conservation legacy have fallen into place over the years, but one has remained elusive until now.
We call this our little slice of heaven.
Well, it's beyond a slice of heaven up here. We're very lucky people.
Well, Save Mount Diablo continues to build upon its extraordinary legacy of conservation around the mountain and elsewhere in the Diablo Range. But right now, it's also focusing on a critically important portion of Mount Diablo's north side, which is right behind me here. It's land they have been seeking to protect for nearly 50 years. It's called the Missing Mile. Mount Diablo rises high above growing East Bay communities. We'll explore the Missing Mile above Clayton in the shadow of Diablo's North Peak, joined by Save Mount Diablo's Ted Clement and Seth Adams. During the pandemic, we maintain safe physical distances.
Save Mount Diablo is about to celebrate its 50th anniversary on December 7th, 2021, and this land that we're talking about protecting has been on our radar since our founding days. We have an amazing opportunity with this project to protect some of the remaining unprotected lands in the central High Peaks area of Mount Diablo.
It's a square mile block showing on the side of North Peak, rising up the steepest rugged slopes towards the peak, literally halfway up the peak. And these are major priorities that have been on our list since the beginning, and finally they're getting protected.
Protecting 3 properties on Mount Diablo's North Peak relies on partnerships between Save Mount Diablo and organizations and individuals who care deeply for their land's future. A principal partner, represented by Diane Jorgensen and Chris Barnard, is the Concord Mount Diablo Trail Ride Association, which has owned 200 acres here for 60 years, 154 of which will be permanently conserved once Save Mount Diablo raises the required funds.
Where we are on this mountain, it's very important that we conserve what we have. We have little microcosms up here. You just keep riding and you just go through different moods of the mountain.
I have a very strong spiritual connection with Mount Diablo. There's a lot of spiritual power in this mountain. And to me, because I have traversed a lot of the mountain, maybe 85% of it, there's still more that I want to explore, I feel real connected with it and I feel protective of it because I want my grandkids to be able to enjoy, and their grandkids, all that I've been able to enjoy up here.
The Concord Mount Diablo Trail Ride Association have been such terrific partners. You know, during this time of the pandemic where we have to stay socially distanced, when I see them, it's hard not to hug them, but I know I can't because of the pandemic. We've developed that type of relationship. They are very special people. They love their land. They're incredibly responsible stewards of this land, and they understand they need to take care of it by helping us permanently protect it. We could not be more grateful for their leadership and partnership.
When we started talking with Save Mount Diablo, we had to make sure that we are able to still have the type of equestrian events that we have up here. This club has such a history of being an equestrian center. It's very important in today's world that we keep that alive. We want to invite kids up here to get to know horses and to have that experience up here.
Our agreement is that we can continue to use it as we've always used it.
And we have then in turn learned more about conservation from them also, and how we can go forth and it can be a happy blend between the two of us. So this is great.
Seth Adams shows me some of the scenic gems on the Trail Ride Association's lovely land, a wild, natural kingdom with big views in all directions. Finally, after 15 years of working to reach a deal, Save Mount Diablo is fundraising to purchase the land's permanent conservation protection.
You can't help but come up here and realize the biodiversity, the value, the beauty of this. This is an incredible piece of property. But we've got a year and a half to raise $1 million to pay for it. We're hoping to do that through our Forever Wild campaign. We need the community to step up. Everything is going to be harder in the time of the coronavirus. Everything's going to be more challenging.
However, Save Mount Diablo has secured the funds and strong partners to permanently conserve 2 other magnificent properties near the Trail Ride Association's land. A private family, California State Parks, and the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservancy are all involved. And when the dollars for the conquered Save Mount Diablo Trail Ride Association deal have at last been gathered, the missing mile will be missing no longer.
I take these signs of the climate crisis, these signs of the pandemic, as requests from our Earth to be better stewards in better parts of this planet. Land conservation is more important now than arguably it's ever been before. We recognize nature as the ultimate foundation for our long-term well-being and health. The fact that we can all come together and do something that will create lasting benefits amidst literally a global crisis is so uplifting for us, and it's something that's going to inspire us through this pandemic.
Thanks to the devotion of its many community donors, large and small, Save Mount Diablo has financed its grand legacy of conservation for nearly half a century. If passed as prologue, even in the midst of a pandemic, their long-held dream of preserving the missing mile will come true. For more information about Save Mount Diablo, go to NBCBayArea.com/OpenRoad. When we come back, California's next great story of conservation and conservation success in Sonoma County's regional parks. For nearly 50 years, Save Mount Diablo has focused its successful campaigns for conservation on and around the mountain in Contra Costa County. Its work there is not yet finished and will continue unabated. The Mount Diablo itself is at the northern edge of a massive and mysterious mountain range that bears its name, and the vast wildness of the full Diablo Range just south of the famous peak also needs protection soon to remain resilient as the climate changes fast in the 21st century. And the Land Conservation Director for Save Mount Diablo, Seth Adams, right over here over my shoulder, is going to be working on this for many, many years to come. And Seth, why is this Diablo Range so important to protect?
Well, even as we've been working on these local projects on the main peaks of Mount Diablo, for years we've been saying that unless we connected Mount Diablo to the rest of the Diablo Range, it would lose a lot of its resources and distinctiveness. The problem is most people don't even know what the Diablo Range is. And they think it goes to Mount Hamilton or maybe Pacheco Pass, but it's really bounded by Highway 5 on the east, Highway 101 on the west, and goes 150 miles down past San Benito Mountain to Antelope Valley and Kern County. It's the terra incognita of California, the spine of Central California, and it's going to be the next great conservation story for California as well. If you know it at all, you've gone across Altamont Pass or Pacheco Pass, and you think it's 10 miles of grassland, but it's really 50 miles wide, 150 miles south, and from any point that you start on the east or the west, you go 5 miles in and 500 feet up, and it's Mount Diablo multiplied. It's one of the most biodiverse places in the entire state. It's been showing up over and over as one of the critical linkages that needs to be protected in the state. And unlike the 75% protection right around Mount Diablo, only 24% of the Diablo Range has been protected, while at the same time, it's one of the most intact landscapes, one of the most important connected wildlife corridors in California, and a mountain lion golden eagle California condor freeway that needs our help.
Though Save Mount Diablo has expanded its work into the Diablo Range and will collaborate closely with those working to protect the central and southern portions of this immense sanctuary of nature, Seth and his team will concentrate their efforts closer to their home base in the north. Let's say you and I got together here in 10 or 15 years and you could say, here's what we now have protected in the Diablo Range. What do you hope a realistic goal is?
hundreds of thousands of acres, an area bigger than Yosemite and Sequoia and Kings Canyon combined, stretching down from Mount Diablo to Henrico to Pinnacles to San Benito Mountain and all the way down to Kern County. We're going to have an intact, connected set of protected lands. Lots of it will be private ranch lands with conservation easements. Lots of it will be public lands with great public access, but it's in the backyard of millions of people who don't even know it exists, and we're going to put it on the map.
For more information about Save Mount Diablo, go to nbcbayarea.com/OpenRoad. When we come back, some of Sonoma County's crown jewels. OpenRoad is made possible by the generous support of our underwriters, dedicated to protecting our natural and historical treasures in the Bay Area and beyond. Additional support is provided by these institutions, also caring for our special environmental and cultural legacies and making them accessible to each and every one of us, now and for all time. Over the years, I've had the absolute pleasure of exploring some of Sonoma County's more than 50 regional parks and hiking at least a few of the park's many miles of county trails, seeing a bit of the broad and beautiful diversity these parks have to offer the people of Sonoma and all of us who come to visit. But I have to admit, I've only scratched the surface of what Sonoma's sensational county parks and trails have to offer. But even that very small sample is truly gorgeous. Oh, in the years ahead, I look forward to returning regularly to soak up more of Sonoma's lovely landscapes, many of them protected in county parks, caring for the health of nature and every single one of us and those who will follow in our footsteps. For more information about Sonoma County regional parks, go to nbcbayarea.com/OpenRoad. Well, that's our show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Doug McConnell, and we'll see you next time right here with more discoveries along the open road.